Welcome everyone to episode 2 of PL Seasons to Remember. We did promise our FA Cup memories podcast, but we're actually going to save that one for the third episode. We're just going to do a little update on the project restart and if we think it should actually go ahead, or we've obviously got a Liverpool fan on, so God knows what we're going to get from him, which is Dougie, who was here last time.
Yep.
And then we have, as promised on our introduction, we have Ryan Tathem, who we'll probably just call Tathem or T. So, Tathem, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell everyone what got you into football and why you support Arsenal and you're from Leeds, like us supporting different clubs and we're from Leeds. And that, just go ahead and we'll just introduction.
So, I'm Ryan Tathem. As Bob said there, everyone knows me by my surname, so Tathem or T. I always, as a child, I was always into football, massively football mad, playing football. I do remember my first experience of football. My dad, who were a big Leeds fan, took me to Leeds v Besiktas in Champions League. Me and my brother.
I didn't know that.
But I was never really massively into it, following it every week. And I was more about the international. So I can vividly remember international tournaments with England around, and it wasn't until. This is going to make me sound like a massive Glory supporter, but I didn't actually start following Arsenal until the season after the Invincibles. So I didn't actually experience all those glory years, and it were just as they were on the downturn when I got on board. So
at least you had some DVDs to look back on.
So just I started following it week in, week out, and I just became attracted to Arsenal. I like the way they play. Thierry Henry, I was just mesmerised by the stars that they had. And I just thought, I like how they play. I'm going to stick with this team, and I've followed them week on week. My dad bought me the shirt, probably a bit begrudgingly, but and then I just got more and more into it. But my first real memory was in that season at 04-05, the end of the unbeaten run at Old Trafford. That's probably why I have so much bitterness to the referees because of how that went on. But and then it's just been a bit of a roller coaster ever since. But Arsenal mad. Get down to a few games, not as much as I would like now that I've got Little and everything. And it's about. You're looking at over £100 all in, and it's a long day going, there and back on coach. But it's worth it when you go. Oh yeah, I've only lost one game. I've been to quite a few games down there, so that's pretty much me.
That's very interesting. I didn't actually know that about Leeds and Besiktas. That was I knew a while ago.
Nice little nugget of information.
Yeah, they were different to our stories, weren't they, Dougie? We just fell in love with a player, didn't we? So. Never know, do you? If you'd have seen a different player, you might have fallen in love with a different team. Might have been like Dion Dublin at Coventry or something. So right from there, then that's great, Ryan. So welcome to the team, as they say. You're our new star signing. We've got a sprint free.
And I'm sporting the nice polo shirt.
Hey, not wrong with that. You look like you're a manager on training.
Like Arteta now with this beard.
Just don't get one of them coats. Wenger couldn't get his hands in pockets. So right then. So what I wanted to get into on this episode was Project Restart. So there's obviously a few options on what they want to do. I mean, the Premier League are intent on restarting. Understandably in some ways because they are a business, but then in other ways. The world's going to hell. It's almost like football's not really important, and you actually get down to it. But at the same time, we all love a bit of distraction. I'm sure a few of us are watching Bundesliga on Saturday. Is it Saturday? Sunday day, isn't it? Yeah, Saturday. Yeah. Which understandable because you want to be distracted, don't you? And, I mean, I personally, we'll just talk a little bit about that now. So I personally struggle to kind of watch it because there's no crowd, and I need the crowd there. Which I'm a bit of a armchair fan, so it's kind of ironic, but. I like all the comforts of the commentary and the noise and that on my surround sound system. So, so Tathem, you might as well tell us what did you think of the Bundesliga then with no crowd? I mean,
I think, like you said, it was nice to have it back. Nice to have because I'm sure we've all been watching so many football highlights and the Premier League retro.
That's where this podcast has come from. So
yeah, so but then like when goals are going to happen, like what's coming. So it was good to sort of just see that yesterday, and I've been watching a few today. I've just been watching Union Berlin v Bayern, but I do agree that I think without the fans, it's massively it's still football, but it just shows that the fans make football massively. Like they make it what it is. And even like you say, even when you're not directly at the games, I think it draws you in a lot more when you can hear the atmosphere. So it's a bit. I don't like a lot of people saying it's the new normal, which for me it's not. It's not normal. It's just this is what it's going to be like for quite a bit of time until we actually.
It almost worries me a bit when they say that.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of thinking, is it going to be like that for the?
I know it's forever?
Which you probably won't be, but you kind of think, oh God.
I know. So I don't like that saying.
No. Dougie, what about you? And did you? Well, we talked about it on the first episode. We both watched a bit of it, didn't we? So, how do you find like no crowd football and stuff? And
I think it's quite difficult. I think it's quite difficult to watch actually. Sometimes I think when you like you say when you've got all the crowd and it's the atmosphere. And I think being a Liverpool fan and you listen to the crowd and You'll Never Walk Alone Again, it gets you really pumped up.
Yeah.
Really, and I'm watching these games now because. I think we'll all agree that German football fans are probably better. They've got better crowd noise than what we have in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
And I think
better than at Stamford Bridge, that's for sure.
It's all quiet at the bridge. That's what we usually. But yeah, I think if football, like T was saying, the new norm. But I think football couldn't continue if this was to be like for a full season. I don't think football could continue for a full season because even though they're playing, they're losing a hell of a lot of money.
That's the main thing.
So much money.
Has rugby come back and stuff?
Rugby's supposed to be coming back in November?
Right. Because I watch a bit of wrestling, and wrestling without it just doesn't work at all. It's like
they're a massive part of it, aren't they? For wrestling.
It's like people say the fans make the sport, and then you got to think, but then when you actually come down to it and you actually go through what we're going through now, you think, why it does.
Well, I was watching Sky Sports did like an end of it was like end of season moments, and there was that the Aguero from when Man City won the league, and without the crowd that moment, it probably still would have been quite epic because of Martin Tyler, but I don't think it would have quite been the same because the crowd was just so. It actually, even though you don't spot it, it kind of gives you goosebumps when you watch it because it's like one of those historical moments. You need it, don't you? So, well, with that then, what do you guys think? And so, obviously, Project Restart's in full flow. The meeting. It sounds like they're meeting every week. I don't know if they are.
Yeah.
But there's obviously, I'll go through the options then. So there's restart when it's safe. So don't end the season and wait till it's safe to do so. Now, I'll come up with some reasons why that might not work, but obviously we'll get into that. Restart in June, which is what they're wanting to do. So, and then there's void it, so no winners, no relegation, which kind of a bit. Don't smile, Dougie. But then there's end it, but then give Liverpool the title. Basically, keep the positions as they are. Don't have relegation and promote Leeds and West Brom, who are the top two in the Championship. So there's problems. I feel like there's problems with every single one of these options. But well, Dougie, because you're a Liverpool fan and this kind of affects your team in a bigger. It probably doesn't affect it as much as it affects relegation if relegation happened, because that's kind of a bigger thing. But you obviously haven't seen your team win the title. You want to see it. But how do you feel about the season? Do you think it should? Do you think they should restart? What do you think they should do out of the four options? Restart when safe, restart in June, void it or end it, but keep the positions as they are and crown Liverpool champions with a little star on, obviously, if they win.
Asterisk.
I think the last one of just giving Liverpool the title is an absolute no-go for me. I think
that's a shot.
There's a lot of banter about Liverpool anyway, about not winning league titles and last season and everything. I wouldn't want just someone to hand us the league title. We've not won it. We haven't mathematically won it. I don't want it like that. And there might be a lot of Liverpool fans who want it like that, but I don't. I think if we're going to do it, let's do it properly. I think regarding it started in June, I think it's a massive, massive ask. I think the way it's going at the moment, I think we're pretty much guaranteed a second wave of the coronavirus, and then it's not. I think they said even in Germany the coronavirus has started up again, so this could be the only weekend that we have German football.
Enjoy it.
Next weekend. So
yeah,
if they're wanting to follow suit and do that, then it's not going to work. So for me, they have to start it when it's completely good enough to start. But the issue you have then is contracts.
That's what I was going to bring up, because obviously Chelsea, for example, Giroud and Willian are out of contract in June, I think it is, or July. And it's like, we've got that lad coming from Ajax. It's like, well, do we let them go, then bring him in? But then it's like, that's not really fair, is it? Because then we're bringing a new player in. And then you've got Man United have got that striker, aren't they, on loan? I think his loan ends end of June or something. So how is that fair? Because he was part of that squad, you know.
I think, but I have heard that clubs or the Premier League are saying that they're going to give extended contracts to the players that are supposed to run out in June to take them through to the end of the season. Now, I mean, if you look at William Saliba, who's an Arsenal player, currently he's only on loan at St Etienne. So remember, if he comes in June when his contract finishes, he could literally play for Arsenal in these last 9 games.
That's the thing, yeah. But then you've also got the problem there. Sorry, just to interrupt. You know, you said about this. The Premier League has said they'll extend these contracts. Is that legal? Because if, like, say, let's just use Willian as an example, because he's just been kind of in the media. If he's like, well, I don't want to play for Chelsea anymore because my contract's up, I don't think they can legally make him.
Yeah. I think it's all on whether. Well, I think the Premier League have said that is what they could do, but remember, it's up to the club. And it's not the Premier League, it's up to the club.
Well, yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Well, and the player.
For the good of the game, and I think a lot of footballers would want to finish a season off. For me, do it right. I think if we can sort the contract things out, I think you're more than. It's very much there to finish.
Are you going for a restart when safe?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If you start in June, you might get one game in, and that might be it.
Well,
and then,
like German League might.
But then they might completely get rid of it. Then, and if they completely get rid of it, then you lose all credibility. Because next season, where do you go from there? Who goes in the Champions League? Who comes up? Because that day, like regarding like Leeds United and West Brom, we're only 7 to 9 points clear from everybody else. If they have a bad run in these last,
I don't even. It's not that much. I thought it was 6. Is it? It's not 6 points. Yeah. It's not even that much, is it? Well, let's just get what Tathem what he thinks, and then we'll go through all the options like at the end properly. So Tathem, what do you think they should do out of the 4?
So I think like you said, that all 4 options have the flaws. They're in one where it's like, this is the right way to go, because I think that the best way forward would probably be the restart when safe. But the issue with that is the clubs losing, especially the lower league clubs, losing like massive amounts of money. League 2 have said that they're gonna just do it on points per game, which fair enough. But then there's a lot we saw with even before.
How does points per game work exactly?
I think it's just like because of course some teams have like games in hand and things like that. So it basically just calculates the table on how many games they've played, how many points they've amassed, and just as an average.
So is it like a predicted point?
So I don't think they take into account like the other games.
Right. Okay.
I think it's just on the games that they've played. I'm not fully sure.
All right.
I think that's how it
kind of makes
looks.
sense, though. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think obviously the main thing is like the players and all the staff and everybody has to turn up their safety. But yeah, I think that would probably be the best way forward. But then if it then runs into effect next season, I think I don't know why there's not really been too much talk of, well, can we like rejuggle next season about a little bit, because it's not started yet. Nothing's happened there. And it's going to get impacted in a couple of years anyway because of the Qatar World Cup. So that's going to mess it around. So they can do things, but I know you've got like Euro and I'm not sure how that works with like UEFA and their championships. Everything is a bit flawed, really.
Do you not think though, T, that the Premier League acted so slow because they've Literally,
Prime Minister, isn't it?
If you watch the football show in the morning and you listen to what Gary Neville was saying about they've acted so slow, is that they're sort of watching and watching and watching. I mean, look how long it took them to actually close the Premier League.
Yeah.
How long it shut you UEFA to close. I mean, Liverpool got knocked out of the Champions League by Atletico Madrid, and then everyone crowded the stadium, and then about a week later they shut it all down. I think for me, they could have shut it down beforehand for me.
See, I almost wonder if they should abandon the cup competitions this year and just say, right, FA Cup and is done. Because, I mean, as much as I'd love to see us possibly win it, it's not. It's probably like the least. And we're going to talk about the FA Cup, and I love the FA Cup, but I feel like at the same time, maybe a little break from it might make it a bit more popular again, like with fans and stuff. But it's like almost like you think about it, you need to sort the season out, because if you win the FA Cup, it doesn't really affect anything, does it? I mean, you do technically get a Europa League place, but it's not. It's one of them, innit, where you think you're better off going on your league, and then obviously the big one's the Champions League and the Europa League, because UEFA want the seasons ended, don't they? Like very soon, so they can. So the Premier League's probably gonna have to make a decision, I think.
I think that they've been slow with it because they don't want to no one wants to seem to put the name to, oh, let's do this, because if something happens to somebody, it looks really bad. So, but I do, on the other hand, I do understand. I know people have been giving them a lot of flack for trying to get restarted. It's all about money and this and that, but you've got to sort of try and look to get back to normality as well. Like,
it's almost like a fine line in a way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like, you can't. How long do we just not do anything for them? Like, you know what I mean? So there's arguments to each point really. But I wouldn't like to be the decision maker.
I do think they should end the season personally now, because I feel like it's gone on too long. I'm not bothered if they decide to void it, or if they say, right, Liverpool are champions, and they do the Leeds West Brom promotion thing and just filter down and have extra teams and then do whatever next time. I mean, obviously there's a problem there, because then you've got clubs like Aston Villa will be all right because they won't go down, but Aston Villa, let's say they decided to relegate them, they're going to be like, well, we had a game in hand. So and then you got Leeds West Brom, like we've said, and we know what Leeds are like. You know, I think Fulham are third, are they, or someone like that? They might be like, well, we could have gone. And then like yourselves, Arsenal as well, and Manchester United, they're kind of pushing up a bit for Champions League. I mean, I know obviously there's a bit of a gap to fill, but I think they've got a chance. And it's like, well, if you take that away from them, is that, or do you take tough to some clubs? And then, I feel like either way, the Premier League's going to get lawsuits no matter what they do.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same.
I think a lot of the littler clubs now at the bottom are sort of saying, well, if we start again, we don't want no relegation. But I think what we said.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Do you mean the clubs in the Premier League or the clubs in the lower leagues?
The Premier League have said. Aston Villa said if they're going to restart again that they shouldn't have relegation. But what are you playing for then?
Yeah.
What are you playing for?
Exactly.
If you're going to do that, you might as well extend the season, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you're just going to say. I mean, I personally think Liverpool as champions. I mean, I know they haven't mathematically won it, but let's face it, they were going to win it, weren't they? So it's almost like you might as well just give them the title. But I get from your angle, Dougie, where you're saying we don't want it like that, because then there'll always be that little. Because then if you don't win it the year after and you don't win it again, there'll always be that Premier League you've won, and it'll always be kind of tainted a little bit.
Yeah.
But then again, who cares what anyone else thinks?
I think if they did null and void the season at the end of the season and we started again, I can guarantee you now that we wouldn't win it next season. And then, I mean, I speak to a lot of Leeds fans think if they null and void their season, they will get promoted even next season, because it's just that's what would happen. It wouldn't be the same next season. But also, I think the Champions League, Man City now on this a Champions League ban. If that holds up, they're battling for 5th place now. Somebody gets 5th place gets Champions League now. So I said Arsenal are far away from 5th place, and you got to look at people like Sheffield United, who worked so hard.
Oh, you're talking about because Manchester City got this ban? They're probably loving this. Let's just go for devil's advocate then. So if they say, right, basically it's something I thought, right, by the time the decision could be made, it might be like the same time next year. It might be ready to start up again when it ended. So you theoretically could just end the season then, couldn't you, and just have everyone let's say you get everyone's contract sorted out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to have been talked about, like in the media. They just seem to kind of be glossing over that, I think.
Yeah, the contract.
Well, let's just. I don't mean that. I mean necessarily like the talking like basically get the Premier League started. But why don't they just kind of like say, right, we're not going to restart it this year, but next year we can look to restart it and get the season done a bit earlier, or it might start up again when it ended. So then you'd be kind of in the same boat. So you literally wouldn't have a 2020-21 season.
Yeah.
You'd have an extended this season. Does that make sense?
I get that, but I think again that this goes back to a lot of clubs wouldn't sort of survive that period without.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. Yeah.
Without football and getting people through. So
I mean, all our clubs are going to be fine, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? You're talking about clubs at the League Twos, aren't you? And
the problem is will there be though? Because I mean,
yeah, I think even the big clubs.
A lot of our players,
the thing is, the big clubs are not going to end. They're not going to go out. They might not be able to spend.
Yeah.
I'm just
Everyone's going to be impacted coming out anyway, aren't they?
With Arsenal, their players are having to give half the wages, so the people can hold the jobs underneath. I think that's why they're doing it. And then
I don't think it's half. I think it's like 15%.
Are we talking about the staff?
Yeah. It's a
percentage.
percentage.
About the players. Are we talking about the staff?
Players.
Players.
It's just the playing staff. Yeah.
For the staff in in the club shop on this to keep their jobs. Now they can't do that all the time. So I'm saying, say we'll survive. That as a football team, they might, but as a collective unit of.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting at. Our clubs are not going to disappear because of this.
Yeah.
We're in a fortunate position that we support clubs like this. Where
you think League Two have cancelled too quick? Because there's a lot of League Two chairmen I've been reading that did want to carry on their leagues, but it's the ones that are below said we don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it's not going to work for everyone.
Yeah, I think possibly, but at the same time, I think you kind of can't blame any of the decision made because they've got to make a decision because of the way the world is.
It's just
you can't please everyone there.
No, you're not going to, are you?
Yeah. Every other league starts again. If the Premier League comes back in June, the Championship comes back in June. Is it just League One and League Two have both cancelled?
I thought it's just League Two, isn't it?
I think League One might be following suit.
That's what I mean. But, it's gonna get to the Premier League eventually, isn't it? So
they don't, and they're gonna think, well, they're doing it now. We could have been there, and we could have then gone up, and it's money. And
I think for me, those are the clubs I feel sorry for in this position because, like I said, we're going to be okay in the long run, but some clubs are going to go out of business, and I think that's the real shame of it. And I almost wonder if the bigger clubs could do a bit more, to help those.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of pot, doesn't there, in the Premier Leagues?
Yeah. I'm sure there's some
back.
sort of rule that where they can't just finance like other clubs. I'm sure. You're
probably right. But surely there could be something where a percentage of money goes into like a pot. Almost in like
a crisis situation,
almost not a redundancy pot. I'm trying to think. You get what I mean, don't you? Like a savings pot that's just there all the time if they ever need it.
Yeah.
Because it's like some clubs are gonna go out of business, and it's just gonna be horrible.
Do you think how much the Premier League earns?
Well,
how much does the Premier League earn? How much billions and billions they couldn't just lend?
Well,
to League One and League Two to put them out.
Is this going to change everything?
Pay it back when you can, just to help these littler teams out. Which
you mean like a bit like furloughing in a way? Like, not even furloughing. Like they've done the business loans, aren't there? Where they say, right, we're going to loan your business $10,000.
You just
think pay it back over, which it's going to be a pain.
I think it was something that Gary Neville was saying, wasn't it? He was saying that if the Premier League was to take half of the money that they get, give it down to to Leagues 1 and 2 to help them, say right, pay it back to the Premier League as and when you can, just to keep teams. I
think again, it could be that the government could step in though, rather than the Premier League having to do that. They could maybe try.
Maybe
and keep
so, yeah. But then do
afloat.
you kind of they've got to kind of work in conjunction, aren't they? So maybe that's where that money comes in, where a percentage of money gets put into this government fund. I mean, the problem with government funding is it's not just as straight up as it gets spread out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if they did it, it gets spread out across. So Right, I think we should wrap this one up then. So, Dougie, you go first, then Taven. Right. So, what are you saying with the season? What should they do?
Start it when it's good enough to start, but make sure that everyone, contract-wise, are all signed out first. Because if they don't,
And are you putting a time limit on that? Just out of interest.
I don't know. I think if it should start when it starts. I think if surely they can move the Premier League further on. I mean, like the Qatar World Cup was supposed to be intervening during the season anyway.
It might actually work out for that if they do that, because they might end up building up and be able to end the season. So,
you've got Euros, haven't you?
Yeah.
And
that's the problem now, because they might have to cancel them. Yeah.
But yeah, I think do it when it's safe and make sure everything's sorted out beforehand, and then let's get the season done, and then we go again.
Yeah. Right, Taven.
Yeah, I think restart when safe as well.
Right. I think restart when safe for now, but I think if it goes on too long, they're going to have to just end the season. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Right then, that's that. So the Twitter poll I did, Void It won, which the problem with polls is you can get people who just hate Liverpool, for example, and just vote to void it because they want to. But it was only 44%, so 24% was restart when safe, so that was second. So
What team?
I think
What's that?
that was me.
I did put it where restart when safe.
Right then, so on that note then, if you want to follow us at PL Seasons on Twitter, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.